It's one of the most crowded cities on Earth, so can you take the stress out of a stay in Hong Kong? Coming up on this week's travel show, we're up to our knees in snow in British Columbia.
Oh, come on!
Plus we'll be joining the clowns and high-wire performances of Melbourne's Circus Oz. And Simon's here with his tips on where to go and what to see in Delhi. Hello and welcome to the travel show, coming to you this week from Hong Kong. It's one of the most densely populated cities in the world, with over 7 million people crammed onto a landmass of just 1,100 square kilometres. And it's a place that some travellers might find stressful when they first arrive, and more than just a little overwhelming. This is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. A cramped and crammed metropolis. Space is at a premium here. That's the reason why they build thin and tall, and just like the skyline, life here is constantly changing and evolving.
Pace is fast, but that's the charm of Hong Kong. It's non-stop. You turn around, something different is going on.
Navigating your way around Hong Kong's bustling streets, markets and ferry terminals can be stressful for the first-time visitor. But technology is big here. The locals love their tablets and smartphones. Most people own at least two, some using both at the same time. And Hong Kong is the perfect place to put all those online guides and tools to the test. Even underground, there's an extensive 3G and phone network.
I think the advantage of Hong Kong is that technology has always worked and it's been there. So in a lot of cities I've traveled around the world, you go down in the subway, you go on the MTR, it doesn't work. So if you're down in the basement of a building, it doesn't work. So you sort of get these cutoff moments that you get in other cities, but you don't get that here. You always have it. So checking your email is easy to do.
Now, you might have noticed earlier that I've been carrying around two mobile phones. That's because more and more Hong Kong hotels are offering their guests the use of a smartphone throughout their stay. These phones have unlimited data, and not only can you make local calls, it's often free to ring countries like the US, UK, Australia, China and Japan.
In essence, it's your extended in-room phone. So whether the phone rings in your room, the smartphone rings as well. So you walk out of the hotel, you go to the restaurant, you go out dining, you go to your meetings, you basically have your in-room phone with you the whole time. But I think the greatest benefit is that you basically have a smartphone which is preloaded with all the most important apps, maps, etc. for Hong Kong. So it makes your stay in Hong Kong so much more useful.
So for me, a phone like this is really handy to be able to use as a Wi-Fi hotspot for my regular phone, and I've been using the apps to find out about events that are on locally, as well as nearby restaurants. If you're not staying at one of these swanky smartphone-offering hotels, you could make use of the Discover Hong Kong Tourist SIM card. For roughly $9 for 5 days, you'll have a comprehensive data package, access to tens of thousands of Wi-Fi hotspots, as well as travel apps. But all this connectivity will mean that people will be able to reach you whenever, wherever, which might not be how you want to relax on a trip. However, one possible downside of all this tech is that you won't be the only person using it. As a result, download speeds can sometimes slow up, and while you struggle to find your way around via your smartphone, you'll be surrounded by a sea of locals trying to sidestep the stress of Hong Kong's streets by streaming their favourite TV show or indulging in a bit of online gaming. So this is what it's like to be a commuter here in Hong Kong. Over 5 million people catch the MTR every weekday. That's over 70% of the population. Back in the 1990s, the people who ran the public transport system here worked out that you could squeeze 6 Hong Kongers into each square metre of a metro carriage. Now, mainly due to all that tech they're carrying around, that figure has been scaled down to only 4 per square metre, as people fight for a little more elbow room to swipe, search, email and tweet as they travel. As a result, some say that the trains here feel more overcrowded than ever. Many of the locals here seem mesmerised by technology. That's not unique. You'll find people transfixed by their tablets all over the world. But in a place where personal space is at a premium, the Transport Authority has realised that the locals' love of tech could be making travelling on the Hong Kong subway more stressful than it should be.
Please hold the handrail. Don't keep your eyes only on your mobile phone.
Residents in Hong Kong, they are really into their mobile phones, their digital media. You know, if you ask around just anyone, they might have more than 2 phones in their pockets.
The first time you're into an MTR and you're in amongst a crowd and you're being pushed and shoved and you're like, where am I going? You get stressed, but then you start to realize that you're the only stressed person out there. And you look around and you're like, oh wow, actually there's a harmony here.
Well, if you're thinking of heading to Hong Kong and would like a slightly more restful stay, here's some travel show tips on how to get away from it all. You could pay a visit to Nanling Gardens. Believe it or not, this green oasis is smack bang in the middle of Kowloon. Built in the classical style of the Tang dynasty, it boasts traditional pagoda buildings overlooking large lakes, rocky waterfalls and landscape gardens dotted with trees, creating a peaceful getaway from a busy day sightseeing. If you want to get a good view of the Hong Kong landscape, head up to Victoria Peak, where you'll be able to see all the way across the city to its waterfront. Beyond the mountains to the north is the rest of China, and if you time your visit just before sunset, you'll catch the city lights coming on. And Hong Kong isn't all skyscrapers and crowds. It has a long coastline and many beaches sheltered by surrounding mountains. The sea's good for swimming if it's not too choppy, or you can sunbathe on the golden sand. Now for the next in our series that looks at some of the world's most unusual circuses. This week we're in Melbourne to go inside the big top with the acrobats of Circus Oz.
Well, here I am over here. No, over here, I'm over here. See, I've got my best clothes on, I'm all scrubbed up. We've finished putting the tent up and we've got the show on here. Come in, come in.
Hi, my name's Olivia and I'm a clown and a juggler. I am the good one, which is lucky for me because I get the support of all the crowd. But I'm also the stupid and the pathetic one that, you know, is always trying to be helpful but then always just creates more problems really.
Circus is my life. I like lots of things about circus. It doesn't seem to have many borders or boundaries. You want to get a message across to your audience, or you purely want to entertain, or whatever it is you want to do, you can kind of borrow from any physical theatre convention that you would like. There's nothing that says this is circus and this is not circus. So I like that kind of boundless ability to do whatever I want on stage.
There are some really important elements to Circus Oz. I talk about them in the show actually. I say community, humanity, hilarity and diversity. They're pillars of the company. That means that regarding diversity, there's always 50-50 men and women on the stage. Those kind of things are a long tradition for Circus Oz.
Oh yeah! Ooh, we are in for a wild ride of prime, grade A, grain-fed, homegrown Australian circus!
I guess that we've always tried to maintain this sense of, you know, a connection with the old, because I guess what we're doing is circus, and some of that is about preserving arts which could otherwise die out. And, you know, things change and things stay the same, and you need to maintain a mixture of both of those.
Time now for this week's travel update. Eagle-eyed tourists at Niagara Falls might have spotted a man attempting to scale the frozen waters. Ice climber Will Gadd became the first person ever to climb the famous waterfall. He reached a height of 45 metres using specially designed ice equipment. The annual Carnival of Venice is underway despite unusually high water levels, which have flooded St Mark's Square. The carnival goes on until February 17th, and the raised walkways have been installed to help people avoid the floodwater. And how about this for a wedding venue? A church made entirely from ice has been blessed by priests in Romania. The frozen structure sits at an altitude of 2,000 metres and is only accessible by cable car. The church will be open until April, when the ice melts. Still to come on this week's travel show. We're hopping onto a helicopter in Canada to reach the untouched snow that tops its mountain ranges. The Travel Show, your essential guide wherever you're heading.
Welcome to the slice of the show that tackles your questions about getting the best from travel. This week, I'll give you my prescription for delving into Delhi.
First, since the Greek election last month, many viewers have been in touch concerned about travel to the country this summer. What happens if Greece leaves the euro? And could all-inclusive holidays be banned? Well, if Greece were to return to the drachma, foreign tourists probably wouldn't notice much difference, except perhaps lower prices. And while the new Prime Minister has criticised all-inclusive resorts as damaging to local communities, the new Tourism Minister has said no action will be taken against them.
Now we're off to the Balkans. Colin Miller asks,
is Bucharest okay for a city visit? I'm looking for something different from normal city breaks.
The Romanian capital is a friendly, fascinating and affordable destination that's certainly different from most European cities. Under the communist dictator Nicolae Ceausescu, much of the historic centre was flattened for various grandiose projects, the most obvious of which is the vast People's Palace, probably the biggest folly on the planet. You can visit it, but when I'm in the city, I prefer to wander through what remains of the age-old centre, where you can still find tiny churches and tucked away places to eat and drink at prices that are appealingly low. Next, Andrea Dawes says,
I'm off to Bali. What currency should I take? Should I also take one of those prepaid money cards?
As in many parts of the world, the one foreign currency universally recognised in Indonesia is the US dollar. Even in the smallest village, people will know the prevailing rate of exchange between the dollar and the local currency, the rupiah. Bali is the most touristy part of the country, and many foreign exchange dealers will also accept euros, Australian dollars and pounds sterling, but rates for dollars are better. So I always take the US currency with clean bills in denominations of $20 and lower. 50s and upwards are treated with suspicion because of the incidence of forged notes. A prepaid money card is more secure, and there are plenty of ATMs which also offer a reasonable exchange rate, though fees for loading currency and using the cards to draw cash can deplete your spending money. Shrutikirti Menon tweeted at BBC Travel Show to say,
I'm planning a trip to Delhi. Please tell me what to see.
Well, I first went to India's glorious capital 25 years ago, and I've returned often since. I still sometimes feel I've only just scratched the surface. Anyway, the walled Red Fort is the place to start. It was begun by Shah Jahan in 1639, just after he had moved the capital from Agra to Delhi. Then move on to the 17th century Jama Mosque that he also created, with a spiral staircase of 120 steps providing amazing views over Old Delhi and its teeming millions. For a complete contrast, visit New Delhi, the actual capital, with architecture dating from the early 20th century and a surprising sense of space and serenity. That's all for now, but if you've got a travel question, just email thetravelshow@bbc.com and I'll do my very best to find you an answer. From me, Simon Calder, the Global Guru, bye for now and see you next time.
Next, we're off to British Columbia and Canada to the series of ski resorts that have been nicknamed the Powder Highway. This year marks the 50th anniversary since the launch of helicopter trips to access some of the most remote resorts. We sent Brandy Yanchik to Revelstoke to find out what it takes to ski in some of the world's deepest powder.
Up to 18 meters of snow falls here every year, blanketing the alpine towns and surrounding terrain.
I've come here to see what it takes to stay upright on these renowned slopes.
Half a century ago, an intrepid mountain guide called Hans Moser started taking groups up in a helicopter to reach the untouched powder of the British Columbia mountaintops. Then heli-skiing was seen as the reserve of only the most daring elite skiers. But now even intermediate skiers like me can have a go. The helicopter drops us in the Monashee Mountains, just to the west of Revelstoke. As the chopper pulls away, I realize how isolated we are up here.
Now we are on a run called Stump Farm.
Jörg is my guide for the day. He takes about 10 guests up here every week. Accessing these remote slopes isn't cheap. An all-inclusive 4-day CMH powder intro trip costs 5,380 Canadian dollars. But I'm told it will be a completely different experience to skiing in standard resorts.
Can you give me a sense of how thick this powder might be?
I think if you step out without the skis, you'll be into your belly button probably.
Even putting on the skis is a challenge in this deep snow. These are wide, specially designed skis to help me glide over the powder.
Yes,
we also have a transceiver to alert rescue teams in the event of an avalanche.
Yes, the click. That wasn't that hard.
Let's go.
Woo! This is a lot of powder. Really intense. A little scary, but here we go. So just keep going straight.
Keep going straight to me and maintain the speed for your turn. Speed is your friend.
Whoa. Wow, this is so deep, this powder.
I try to keep up a good speed, but it's difficult in this wall of powder.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Here I go.
I'm a confident skier on resort slopes, but navigating the untouched snow with trees all around makes me feel cautious.
Leaning forward, loosey-goosey, not trying to hit those trees. No, thank you. Oops.
Keep your hands in your peripheral vision.
As well as giving me training, Jörg points out why you have to stay alert when skiing outside a ski resort in the backcountry.
Awesome.
Almost a bigger problem than avalanches, and totally underestimated, is the hazard of tree welts. With the snowpack here being right now in early season about 2.30 meters, you could fall all the way in there. And the only thing that would hold you off would be your skis. So you can imagine what would happen if you were to fall in here head first. What makes powder skiing so special is the flotation. Once you get the speed and the rhythm, it's just like floating, just like flying. It's so different from the hardpack. And that's what all the people come back here for over and over again, this feeling of floating on the snow.
This one's a bit tricky.
At the moment, I seem to be mastering falling rather than floating.
Whoops. First fall.
But at least when you fall here, it's a very soft landing.
It's okay, I'm up. It's very cushiony, it's like a big marshmallow.
Getting up when you fall and keeping your skis towards the top of the powder is exhausting. At the end of each turn, I have to fight the powder to stay afloat.
Woohoo! Okay. Let's get going. Oh, come on! You're so mean right now that you're filming this, but yes, I can't get out. Okay, sorry. Whoa. Did I mention that skiing is a workout? Okay. If only I didn't have to get up out of this powder, I would be like thrilled. If only we had like a little helicopter that would just pull me up gently, that would be awesome. Okay, let's go.
I'm up now and starting to enjoy speeding through these incredible mounds of snow.
Hi, Fanny!
Woohoo!
Keep it going!
Yay! I'm actually doing it! I'm not so terrible anymore!
Beautiful!
Excellent. Champion.
Well, that's all we've got time for in this edition of the program. I hope you can join us next week, when Krista takes a tour that promises to reveal the ghostly side of Chicago's gangster history.
This allegedly is a bloodstain.
Join us for that if you can. And don't forget, you can follow us all on the Travel Show team wherever we may be in the world by joining our social media feeds. The details are on the screen now. But until next time, from me, Carmen Roberts, and the rest of the Travel Show team here in Hong Kong, it's goodbye.